I'm Joe, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Joe.
Um, I've been in AA for over 18 years, and I was telling my friend over here that I started my journey in Temple City at a time when at a time when I spent about 9 months at Kaiser inpatient in Covina, and when my 9 months were up, they said maybe you should go out in the AA community and see if you can continue. Maybe you'll learn how to continue to stay sober, meet some people that can help you with your issues, And I got real angry. They were telling me to leave. And for my first 5 years, well, the drunkalog is that I abused alcohol and chemicals for over 24 years. And it's safe to say that my father was a functioning alcoholic, and my grandfather was an alcoholic. And in my blood family, there existed alcohol abuse and drug abuse and any form of abuse and outside issues or emotional and mental, like they talk about in here in the sheet. So that was my blood family when I needed. I was the kid in the neighborhood that was put through a lot of tests because of the area that I was raised in when I was about 7 or 8. If I told you where I was raised, you'd probably go, "Oh man, you had it pretty hard. That's a pretty insane city to live in." And like I said, I used, misused, and abused what I could, because my first experience with alcohol was at a Christmas party, and then this guy showed me this brown bottle that said Seagram's on it, and it had a big 7 on it. And he says, "Yeah, I'll let you stay here as long as you calm down. You can drink and eat all you want, and as long as you don't get out of hand, you get to hang out with us and celebrate Christmas." And I did just that, but he kept bringing me liquor, so I messed up pretty quickly, and then I blacked out and I passed out, and I ended up in his backyard, and then later on I ended up in his garage. And but I love the fact that the alcohol slowed down my thinking. It slowed down my fears. It slowed down me being such a reactive individual. And what I mean by being reactive is that if anybody would try to violate me as a person or verbally, then physically I'd have to respond and I'd have to react. And that was something that I grew up with. My older brothers used to tell me, "Hey, we're not going to be around forever to defend you, so you need to kick some ass, and you need to get your ass kicked every now and then." And I said, "Well, why? I'm not doing nothing." He was, "That's just the way it is. That's where we live, and that's what you have to learn. And you got to learn it quick." So I had learned to do that around 8 or 9. So my first experience with alcohol, like I told you, it helped me with all my fears. It helped me with all my issues that weren't talked about at home, that I couldn't talk to my parents about, or my own brothers or sisters. And I took off from there, The first experience, I said, all I got to do is get more of this liquid, and I found backyard parties and wedding parties and funerals and viewings and sweet 16s, anywhere that I could find a party to see. This room reminds me of a lot of places that I used to go to, because I would befriend the bartender very early on in the night so I can get liquor from him. And this was before I had liquor in the car, and then I'd go in the building and I'd befriend the bartender. So I was always making a beeline to the person that held the alcohol. And on down the road I went. Before I knew it, I was, 37 years of age, and I was at a Kaiser over at Kaiser, and I was the last one to find out that some dude next to me told me he was part of the group. He said, "Hey man, do you know that you're detoxing?" And I said, "What is detoxing?" He goes, "No, never mind, just go with it, And I had to spend 9 months in there, and then when I came out and I started going to meetings, I went to Temple City first, and then I went to Arcadia, and I went to Covina, then I went to Glendale, then I went to La Puente, and I mean, I just jumped around everywhere. The first 5 years of recovery, and in Temple City is where I met my first sponsor. And I believe I was walking down the alley after a meeting, you know, feeling sorry for myself and hating the world, and I can't drink no more. I don't want to go back to Kaiser. I think they're wrong. I didn't kill anybody behind my years of influence, you know. And then this man came up on a car, and he said to me, "Hey, I'm gonna be your sponsor." And I wanted to get inside the car, and he told me, "No, calm down, man. That's not the way we do things around here. I know you have issues. Just come back tomorrow, and then I'll tell you how we do things around here when it comes down to a sponsor and a sponsee." And I continued going back to Temple City, and that's where I learned about step work, and I learned about how to behave in the rooms. I mean, they had rules in there, like if they heard you talking while the speaker was talking, a couple guys would get up and say, "Get up," and they walk you outside, and then they tell you, "Hey, we don't do that in here. This is what we do in here, and you have to learn how to do this." And I was taken outside a couple times because of my outside issues. And a couple of the guys told me that we know you have outside issues, but you don't get to come in here and act a fool. And if you need help, you need to go out and go get the help that you need. And I wanted to come back, so I did just that. And I spent maybe the first 6 or 7 years in that room over in Temple City. Met a lot of different people. Some people got sober. I met this one guy who was very helpful. His name was Armenian Jack. And every time he saw me, you know, and I was going to the room, he'd say, "Come on in, Joe," and he'd be smoking away. And he goes, "How you doing today, man?" And I'm like, "Dude, it is what it is." He goes, "Yeah, you didn't drink, right?" I said, "No, man. Just come in and sit down." So after about a year of doing that, you know, I was coming into the meeting. I don't know why. I just know I had to be there, and I was, I guess, walking a certain way, and he saw me, and he stopped smoking, and he looked at me, and he yelled from a distance, and he said, "Finally, you're getting it, man." And I'm like, what are you talking about? "I'm here for the meeting." And he says, "Never mind, just shut up and sit down and come inside the room." So apparently he had saw something in me that apparently started to change, and I didn't know what he was talking about. And I just heard him, and I went back into the room. And you know, I made him a part of my recovery people, because I always thought that he was very grounded, and he was very honest about his life when he was doing what he was doing out there. And a lot of these people that I knew over 18 years ago, they're not around anymore. And you know, sometimes I go to a room and I'm going, "Man, I'm an old timer in here. It feels like I'm an old timer in here." You know, I see these other younger people that are coming in, and they're sitting there and thinking about stuff, and how did I get in here, and what do they mean I got problems? And I see myself in their behavior, and I just, you know, I hope that they get it, because, you know, the old timers used to say in the beginning that if we don't get healthy, that there's 3 places that I'm going to end up: in hospitals, institutions, or I'm going to die, and then I'm going to leave that legacy. So they scared me a little bit, the old timers, in the beginning. You know, my wife was okay that I was going to meetings, you know, but she still didn't trust me for anything. And that was all right. I could go to the meetings and complain, and nobody would say, they would just laugh at me, and they would say, "Man, your wife sounds like a real bitch." And I said, "Well, she is." He said, "Are you gonna get high and drunk on her?" I said, "No, man." He says, "But you look angry, and you have to do something about being angry. And here's a place where we do things about our feelings and how we feel and how we let go of rage, and we use the step work to do that stuff, you know." So I kept coming back. And then one day I got 10 years. I was in there taking a 10-year chip. And I go, "Wow, I've been here for 10 years. I didn't plan to be in here that long, man." This is where I met this gentleman. I met Lou. And I was taking a chip, and then 6 months later, I was having a breakdown. I was having a mental breakdown. And my sponsor at the time heard me speak over there, and he told me, "Hey man, it looks and it sounds like you're having a mental breakdown." I go, "What are you talking about? I'm not getting high. I just took a chip for 10 years. What's your problem, you know? Why are you saying those things?" He goes, "But you don't see what I see. You're not listening the way you sound and everything." I go, "So what am I supposed to do now?" And he said it all in a calm sort of way. He said, "Well, sometimes it happens. Right around the 10th year, we start acting kind of batty and we got to go out and get some more help." And I'm like, "Oh man, that means I got to go back to the head doctors." So, I checked myself into Arcadia Mental Health for about 3 months. Sat down with this so-called professional, and I addressed some of my issues, and he couldn't understand why I was in there. He kept asking me, "Well, you didn't relapse, right? You didn't use, you didn't drink?" I said, "Nah, man. Isn't a mental relapse? Can I be in here because they say that I'm tripping out, and they're afraid that I'm gonna snap and end up on the news? I mean, can I be in here still?" So they let me stay in there, and I spent about 3 months in there, and I came back and I started going to the meetings again, and I felt a little better, and I got honest with that part of who I am, because it's in the reading. It says that there's some of us who are emotional and mental. So I like to think that that's part of who I am, that I need to do something about. So I continue going to the meetings, and people were kind of like okay when they would hear me talk about the stuff. Some people would say, "Nah, you're sharing too much. That's an outside issue. Don't do it." I had one guy come up to me and get my face is closed, and he says, I'm gonna let you speak for 10 minutes, but I don't want you to talk about that stuff." I said, "Okay, man. All right, I won't do it." So I got on and I did 20 minutes and I talked about the stuff. And the guy was in the corner. He was telling me, "It's it, man. It's it." And I'm like, almost done. So they say you can't tell an alcoholic anything because they know everything, right? They say that we're massive thinkers, and one of the famous quotes that the old timers used to say when I came in was, "You can't tell an alkie nothing," because their famous words are, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And I'm grateful for all those old timers, because they were very honest with me and they were in my face about recovery. They didn't BS, they didn't pull any punches. They were always questioning me, "Hey, are you sober?" And I'd get angry and I'd say, "Man, you ask me every day. Why you ask me every day?" He says, "We don't know." And after a while they stopped asking me. And after a while I looked at them and I heard somebody say, "It's not important that you believe that I'm sober. What's important is that I know that I'm sober and I have a good relationship with God." I say, "Yeah, I'll stick with that. I'm not going to try to impress you guys," I told the old timers. And they would laugh at me every time I would learn something, or where they would hear me repeat something in the readings, or when they would see me take a commitment. They must have hounded me for like about a good 2 years when they would say, "We know you got a coffee commitment. We're watching you. We're going to tell you when you're messing up." Or when I was cleaning up, "We're going to tell you, we're going to be watching you as you're cleaning up, and we're going to let you know." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want no problems, man." He said, No. But, the reason we're doing this is we want you to learn things correctly. There could be somebody else watching you that might want your commitment, and there you are goofing around and playing around, not doing what you're supposed to do. This is a place where we're going to straighten you out. And I said, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So when I was about nine months, when I was out of Kaiser, my wife was saying, "Hey, we gotta go find my brother. I think he's drinking again." And and I'm severely raw and dry, and I'm like, yeah, let's go do this. We gotta face it. We gotta find him. He's probably drunk. He's probably drunk. So we went to his apartment and we found him dead in the restroom of a massive heart attack. And there I am, 9 months in a week, sober, and I'm going, so what do I do now? What am I going to do now? And, God's plan is just that. There have been situations, people, places, and things where I thought, you know what, I can't deal with this. I'm gonna do something. And there have been times when I felt like I was gonna put my hands on someone because I just couldn't deal with the reality of what was going on. And but I haven't got drunk. I haven't taken any of those funny pills. I've lost my temper. I've gotten into arguments. I've given people the finger. I've done a lot of stuff. But I haven't got drunk and high over anything yet. Not yet. Not yet. And I owe it all to the program, and I owe it all to those old timers that are still in my head. They messed up my head, man. They messed up my drinking. I can still hear them in there. Jack, On Tempo, Boston Pete, Heather, Olivia. I mean, all these people that I can hear them. Whenever I get a good idea, they're like, "Oh yeah, go ahead and do that, and pay the consequences." And I'm like, "No, maybe it's not a good idea." It's extremely difficult at times to look at my own skin and to always turn the other cheek when it comes to situations with people, places, and things. Sometimes I say to myself, I'm not trying to be this Gandhi person in recovery. I'm not trying to be this levitating spiritual person or everybody's cup of tea in recovery, The old timers used to say that this recovery thing is not a popularity contest, Don't go into the room thinking everybody's going to like you or you're going to like everybody. Just be respectful, be considerate, watch your space, and just get in and out, and that's exactly what I still do 18 years into recovery. And then sometimes people will see me and then they'll mumble to their friend, and then the friend will mumble, and I look at them and they're watching me, and I'm going, I just don't play into it, I go into the rooms to do as best as I can to leave all my baggage in the room so I can feel better about myself, because I still have to go out in the world and the way everything is right now. And there's a lot of excuses that I can get into and be reactive towards someone and hurt someone. I have a history of, when I was a teenager, people used to tell me, "Hey man, what's wrong with you? Why did you do that to him? Look at him." Well, he put his hand on me. I said, "Yeah, but that's not normal." Whatever normal is. So the things that I still have difficulty with are character defects and patience. I disagree with God. I'll take a walk and I'll have a conversation with God, and I say, "I don't agree with this, man. This isn't cool and this isn't right. But I'm going to keep staying sober. I'm going to do as best as I can in the middle of it all." And then I feel a little bit better. I wish I could tell you that my only problem was alcohol and chemicals and the years that I abused them. But when all that stuff went away, there was all this mountain of things that I had to deal with. But that's what the steps are for. Whether it's alcohol or chemicals or my issues. If you do the step work, man, you're gonna learn that this program really works in many different ways. I think that's it, right, Lee? Or is it supposed to go beep? So anyway, I'm a minute away from 20 minutes, so if it's okay with you guys, thank you all for listening.